Call to order the City of Dale City regular meeting of the City Council for February 21st, 2023. Melissa, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Gandy,
Here.
Councilwoman Mooney,
Here.
Councilwoman Finch,
Here.
Councilman Dean,
Here.
and Mayor Eason.
Mayor is here. Would you rise for the invocation, please? Lord, we come to you tonight just grateful for the opportunity to serve. We ask that you be with this council, guide our decisions, help us to be good stewards for the city of Dale City. Lord, just bless this town, bless the community, be with our country, be with our president, give him the wisdom to make correct decisions for the country, be with our governor, and especially, Lord, be with us here tonight as we make decisions for the city of Dale City. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Chief Purcell, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on non-agenda items? Step to this podium. Spell your name for the city clerk, please.
Bob Thomas, Thomas.
Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. 3617 South Holiday Avenue. I recently retired from MTM Recognition, formerly known as Midwest Trophy, after 38 years. MTM was founded by Dave Smith in 1971 and just recently celebrated its 50th anniversary. I believe MTM is still the largest employer in Dale City and has built an impressive campus on 29th Street. I would ask that the council consider renaming Glen Avenue after Mr. Smith to honor what he has done for the community over the past 50 years. From Southeast 29th to north to Southeast 27th, that part of Glen Avenue. I've got a map here.
I was pulling it up on my phone. That's all right.
I know, like in Midwest City, there's a Hudeberg Drive and Arthur Harris Drive, so I know it's not out of the ordinary to name streets after prominent people, and I'm just asking the council to consider doing this to honor Mr. Smith's legacy, and while he's still alive and could be honored by it.
I think that's a great idea. We're going to have to look into the procedures, but I think it's a wonderful idea. Anybody else care to comment on that?
And it looks like there's no other driveways or any house addresses that would change.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
It appears that both of those houses that border it don't actually have their driveways on it. So they should
Correct.
be
They're
able-
off of 27th Street.
Yep.
And I believe our emergency services here in Dell City would be able to accept that change pretty quickly.
Bob, I used to have your phone number. If you would shoot me an email, or if you want to take a minute and write your phone number on this,
Sure.
so I can get back to you on that. I think that's an outstanding idea, but I'm not sure what the procedure is, so I'm willing to look into it. Last time I saw a picture of you, were you in Greece or Italy or someplace? Oh, he's been around the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council on non-agenda items?
Good evening.
State your name for the city clerk, please, and spell it.
My name is Dina Hale. I live at 3928 East Fairview. A few months back, I addressed the council about possibly a change to the ordinance of discharging firearms in the city limits. in particular, like pellet guns, for the control of nuisance wildlife like skunks. And even back then, my good neighbor, the mayor, offered me the ammo to kill them with. I was really hoping for something more like a revision of the ordinance. And I was just wondering if that's still on the table?
I'm not sure that we've talked about that. That would be one for the city attorney, am I correct?
I have a
To-
draft proposal, but I'm not sure how often it really comes up, and I always have prosecutorial discretion. So if it comes across and I read all the facts and circumstances surrounding it, I have that discretion.
Okay.
Well, at this time, every time we trap a skunk, we're having to call animal control. And that poor girl, I bet she's been sprayed 15 times. And, you know, with spring coming, they're going to be out again. So I would appreciate it. And if so, how would the public be notified of the change?
We can send you a message.
Okay,
We can send you an email or something.
all right.
I'm not sure at what stage we're at or what we're doing, but we'll look into it.
Any changes in the law have to come before council, and so it would be a public record at open council.
It'll be on the agenda.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Mhm. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council on a non-agenda items? Chief, I thought you were raising your hand for a second. All right, seeing none. Councilman Gandy.
What was it, 3 meetings ago was our special meeting where we were discussing several items, one of which was the left-hand turn off of 15th Street to Vicky. I don't know how many of you make that route very often, but there is a left-hand turn signal now with a yield to yellow flashing. So we will have our left-hand turn off of 15th Street onto Vicky, which solves our immediate problem, and I know we've got more happening there in the future that we'll need to discuss, but
Yeah, ODOT is not finished at that
Yeah.
intersection.
yeah, so we'll have more discussion on that, but I just wanted to clarify that the left-hand turn is not going away, thank goodness. So,
Yeah,
and there is, the way they've done it, just so those of you that don't go that way, we're going to have to stop under the bridge, which is a huge change from where it's probably 20 foot back in order to be able to see that light. But it doesn't look like it, but it is there. Trust me, I've looked at it 5 times to make sure I'm seeing it correctly. So, and that is it.
all right. Councilman Mooney.
Already given? Thank you.
Councilman Finch.
Hello. First, I want to remind our citizens that there will be a vote on March 7th for State Question 820. It's for the legalization of the marijuana bill. Get out and vote. We need our voices heard. So get out and vote. There's also an election on April 4th for the Middale School Board. I think that's very important for our children. Let's get out there and vote and make our selection for a good candidate for our school board. Also, I want to thank Chief Purcell and his crew that showed up at PJ's this morning to help us out. I appreciate that. And also Mike Hatfield and Public Works for coming in. Don't know what I'd do without you guys.
Councilman Dean.
I've got a couple of street requests. And so I would like to see us put in concrete from right next to the flower shop, going up to the post office, going over back to the fire station for their entrance. Is anytime that you got heavy trucks, or fire trucks in particular, making all those turns, plus all the traffic for the post office, we continually have the road breaking down. But you know, if we could just get a bid to put concrete in for that whole intersection, from the intersection to the end of the post office, then that would really help solve that problem, particularly for the drop box for the post office as well. Next one is you guys had a nice grinder where you ground down some of the bumps. And on 44th Street, right by the water plant, is the speed bump that's in the right-hand lane that's been there for the last 20 years. That would be a fantastic one to grind down, because we should have plenty of asphalt underneath it. Thank you.
Okay, I have a street also, the intersection of Branch and Prairie. The subsurface is failing, and there's probably a 4-foot circle of asphalt that has deteriorated, breaking up, that needs to be Branch and Prairie, the intersection of Branch and Prairie. That needs some attention there before it gets bad. All right, city manager's report. City clerk's report.
Yes, we received our sales tax for the month, and since this time last year, our net sales tax has decreased, right at 0.93%, and that's $10,142.42. The use tax has increased 2.13% at $3,675.78. The tobacco tax has increased right at 2.16%. That's $137.53. And the hotel motel tax has decreased right at 0.68%, and that's negative $83.05.
All right, thank you. Move on to item number 6, consent docket. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the following items by unanimous consent with one motion. Item A is a budget amendment. Approve a budget amendment for fiscal year 2022-2023 as shown in Exhibit A to the council agenda. Item B is minutes of January 31, 2023 special meeting. Approve the minutes of the special meeting of the council of January 31st, 2023. Item C is minutes of February 6, 2023 regular meeting. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the council for February 6, 2023. Item D is minutes of February 9th, 2023 joint special meeting. Approve the minutes of the joint special meeting of the City Council and the Planning Commission of February 9, 2023. Item E is a blanket purchase order, fleet maintenance. Approve a blanket purchase order for Fleet Maintenance Division for fiscal year 2022-2023 under account number 01518-218 in the amount of, 010634 Napa Auto $500, 010354 O'Reilly's Auto for $500, 010443 Perfection Equipment Company for $500, 012992 Southern Tire Mart for $500 for a total of $2,000. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve A, B, C, and D, and E.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item number 7 is the monthly update from the fire chief. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve receiving a monthly update from the fire chief. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we receive a monthly update from the fire chief.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Finch. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Chief, you're up. Tell us good news.
I've got some good news for you. This past January was a lot slower than January of 2022. We saw a decrease.
Good.
So we were a little bit more manageable this January. Just wanted to bring to you just a couple of things that we've been doing. If you didn't know, but Dale City High School did a polar plunge. They kind of modified it. They didn't jump into a pool like a lot of them do. They used our aerial that we've done over the past several years. Some days you have to go out and chip the ice away from the students once they're done. But this one, it wasn't too bad for them, so we always assist with their Special Olympics polar plunge via our aerial truck. So we were able to do that a couple of Saturdays ago. Glad we could do that. I sent out a media release. We did have an arrest, charges filed, and arrest made from our fire marshal and fire investigator relating to the police car arson fire back in 2021.
good.
So we were able to get someone arrested for that. And kudos again to our investigators. They were able to collect some samples there on the scene and get that over to ATF for analysis, and we're able to do some DNA matching. And so we were able to catch our guys, so glad for that.
Very good.
This past week, we had a very big interactive joint training session with not only our fire department, our police department in Pafford, but other area law enforcement agencies at the community center with Homeland Security and instructors from LSU on a joint, it was an integrative, integrated threat, which is an active shooter. So it integrated the fire response and police response, had probably close to 50 participants. So I want to give a shout out to our training division, Major Fernandez. He was able to get Pafford, trucks dedicated to that. We reached out to EOC Tech and got their high school fire academy students involved. They were kind of the victims on that final day. Lieutenant Preston from the police department on his end coordinating things. So had a really good turnout. Hope we never have to put it into practice, but we are working towards the preparedness of just our, continuing the response component in our city. So wanted to mention that. And Pafford's still doing good. They've got a 7-minute, 13-second overall response time this past month. But what we always really focus on is the priority 1 calls, the emergency calls, 5 minutes, 38 seconds. And that's still very, very top notch, and it's definitely underneath our criteria of 8 minutes, 59 seconds. So very pleased with that. And other than that, that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Let's move on to item number 8, extension of Southeast 24th Street to Sooner Road. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or deny the extension of Southeast 24th Street to Sooner Road. Direct staff accordingly. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the extension of Southeast 24th to Sooner Road.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? And I'll wade in on that. The reason for proposing this, I know we don't have the funds to build the bridge or build the road. I understand that. This was just to kind of put us on the path to start looking at that. That's an extension that would take the school buses out of the neighborhood and try and slow down the flow of traffic that just overwhelms our neighborhood streets coming from the middle school. I think it's something that we need to do eventually, and I agree we don't have the funds to do it now, but anyway, that's where we're at. It's a safety issue for the school kids, and I think it's worth doing, and it's worth planning on. I'd like to see us applying for grants and funds and moving in that direction. I know the neighborhood, the people that live on those streets are overwhelmed with people parking on their driveways, on their yards, and the traffic is just unbelievable over there right now. And we need that extension to allow traffic to flow smoother out of the neighborhood. But I understand that we don't have the funds right now. But there is a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion before we vote?
So we always have the ability to use funds from ACOG. And the first step that you have to have is the architect's plans or the engineering plans for the bridge.
Right.
So if anything that we should be looking at doing tonight is not necessarily approving a bridge, it's approving a design of
Engineering.
an engineering design. I think that the bridge would allow residents from the whole community to actually have bike access, sidewalk access to
Get across Crackle Creek.
to our, TEDs / the rest of the businesses down there, including Walmart, without having to go necessarily down the Vicky side. So I think that considering, trying to find out what it would cost to have the engineering plans drawn up, to have those ready if we decide to use it. But each time that we try for a project is we go through the project, we always want to spend our own money. And it would be nice to spend the money that the state,
ACOG
the
or the
state that
state.
has given to ACOG for these such projects.
We've also had input from ODOT indicating that they would be interested in buying the bridge and putting the bridge in for us. So,
And I don't think it would actually work that way. It would be an exchange. So for people who saying that, no, they're not going to build the bridge, they're not going to do that. If they were to do the Vicky closure, they're
Then-
going to have to buy that from us. Then we'd end up with the money. So now, whether we want to spend all the money on the bridge or 20% on the bridge would all depend if we have the engineering designs and the proposal already going through
right.
through that. So thinking about what would actually happen is yes, Department of Transportation could end up paying for it, but they would actually be buying the closure of Vicky and the rerouting of Vicky.
This says this was requested by Mayor Floyd Easton. Actually, I requested discussion about it. We need to be talking about it if we're going to make a plan for the future. But there's a motion and a second on the floor, and we're going to honor that motion and second.
And the thought that I would have is that we go, we maybe whichever part we need to do for motions, but why don't we see if we can ask or try to get a bid for engineering design to see how much it would actually cost? So is it going to be $10,000 for the engineering work or whichever part? But but if we need that part to decide, just how much farther we're going to go on with this project.
Well, I had hoped that we could have discussion about the necessity of getting those school buses out of the neighborhood congestion. But we have a motion and a second to deny it, and so we have to honor that motion.
I think we can still have a discussion here. 'Cause the
Yeah, we
discussion's
are,
part of it.
we are right now.
So the other part about the traffic that's going on
Yeah.
is there has been a significant change there's been a change in the flow of traffic that has happened since an administration change at the middle school.
You're talking about combining the two schools?
No, it's what the issue is that the schools have been combined for several years, and this past basically year is, from what I understand, is this problem has escalated, and it's escalated because basically out of a safety concern from the current principal, they've closed down the parking lot. So you used to have all the buses come in and stop next to the awning, and in the next 2 or 3 lanes, plus the other side, be where the parents picked up kids. So they shut down the entire parking lot and now have only allowed them to come through in a single file line to pick up the kids.
So now, it's my understanding, the kids are running out down the street to get the buses.
Yes.
So
Well, it shouldn't be the buses, but the buses are supposed to be stacked going north out of the school. So again, there's problems and issues that should be able to solve to help the traffic get back to what it was 2 years ago. But you still have the inability for the whole neighborhood to get from the neighborhood to Sooner Road, because there's not
Right.
a single access, from one side to the other. But I think we can work on the traffic-wise, and I've asked the police chief to go and investigate just, what, to try to look for the problems. And so hopefully whenever he comes talk to us next meeting, he'll have a report.
I had asked for the Dale City Police Department's drone to do a flyover and video the congestion and the traffic in that area. Somebody's going to get hurt there, and we need to alleviate some of that bus traffic that goes through the neighborhoods. Those streets are narrow enough, but when parents are lined up at the curb picking up their children, the children are running up and down the streets, meeting the traffic, meeting the cars, finding their parents, and then we have school buses going out through the middle of it. It's a recipe for disaster. And I think it's a mistake to keep putting off the extension of 24th Street. You're gambling with middle school students' lives, and I think that's a serious mistake. I understand that we don't have the money to move forward with this, but I do think we need to get it on our radar and start making plans. We need to be looking for grants. We need to be looking for assistance from ACOG. That's something that we need to get those school buses so they can go straight to Sooner, not drive through the neighborhood, through all the parked parents and all the kids running to meet their parents. That's a safety issue. And I would like to ask that we can direct the chief of police to take their drone over there during the high traffic time and get some video for us so everybody can be on the same page and see what a dangerous situation that is. And the only way we're ever going to get a bridge there is if we don't, I mean, we're going to have to start talking about it, we're going to have to start making plans for it, and we're going to have to start getting prices on the engineering. So it saddens me that you can so summarily just dismiss this and kill it rather than considering discussion, but you know, that's what it's all about.
So there's an issue about the drone, which is an administrative issue. They can't do that, and I've asked them to send several undercover police through the line, just like parents, to go and experience what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're going to end up with that part, but I think it's going, but for the drone, it's going to be several months before that will be available.
What's the problem with the drone? Do we not have trained?
That's right. You have to have an FAA certified instructor or flying person for the drone.
So we own a drone, but we can't fly it.
And they're correcting that, so.
Good.
Just a second, I want to make this clear. I am not against taking that traffic out of the area. I just think that we need to be better prepared to do this. We need to have the money, we need to have engineering, we need to know how the property is going to be bought across the creek to get to Sooner. I just think that we need to be better prepared before it's put back on the agenda.
So,
So, Madam Attorney, is there a way for us to have two votes on this? We don't need a bridge now. We don't want to even be saying.
We can't do a bridge. Nobody's saying that we can do a bridge right now.
But can we vote no on this and then go back and vote yes to either authorize or to authorize looking into the bridge or getting money for the bridge?
What's the cost of engineering typically, or to figure out what the cost of engineering is? 10 to 12% So what is it to, so what you're requesting is that we find out what it would cost to engineer the bridge in order to proceed. So that would cost how much? It would not be the 10 or 12% of the
And
total
again, maybe
project.
just to get bids is
The-
what I would like to do. is
What
just
I'm
to
getting
have-
at is Mike, it's within Mike's purview to spend X number of dollars without our approval. And so if we were
This
to
is gonna
give
be
Mike
over.
that direction, which we are allowed to do. So, okay, and so that actually costs us nothing at that point to do an RFP for an engineering firm to, so I would say, is that incorrect, Beverly?
For professional services, you don't have to go out for bid for, would be engineering or attorneys or things that are of specialized nature. They don't go out for bid. They would be, you'd have to select them based on their history, and you could look at different quotes, but it's based on more of experience and what they can deliver.
So while
So
I,
if we deny this, item number 8, then that ends it. We have to bring it back to ask for a quote?
What you might consider is voting on this one and then thinking about maybe having a collaborative meeting with Middale Schools and Oklahoma County and maybe people with ACOG and us to see what the feasibility is and what the steps are, and make sure that all the interested parties are in interest. But if you can't just change this agenda item to a different one, we would have to be brought back another time. But you may want to think about that interim step, and that way maybe we can see where everybody else is at on it, and they could have other people bringing money to the table as well.
I think the option is to say no and then we just stop it here, but we already the city manager knows that we need to go out for an RFP for the bridge to bring back at a later time. Or we can deny the vote, you know, don't pass the no, and then modify this to include no on the bridge, but yes to go ahead and get the quotes done.
I don't think this was never intended to be a go-ahead on the bridge. This was to get the item out there. It's a need for the community, the neighborhood over there. It's a safety issue, and
And there's more to this, right? So
Sure.
just more clarification on the Vicky shut that we just talked about. He just mentioned it. So I mentioned the left-hand turn off of 15th Street onto Vicky. That is currently solved with this light that's going in. But the future plans are for Vicky to be completely shut off, both the north and the south side of 15th Street, and turned into a cul-de-sac. And as part of that, ODOT, being ODOT, we are aware that they're notoriously difficult. Once they have a plan, they stick to that plan. And so part of Southeast 24th Street is a piece of a potential solution if we are to do that cul-de-sac. So it's not that any of us, it's the way that the item number 8 is written. It basically just says extend Southeast 24th Street. And so if we were approved, that's an open-ended, you know, it's far too broad at this point is my concern with it. So it's not that we don't need to be considering this, it's just the way it's written, I believe, tonight.
Mr. Manager, do you need anything further from us? And we can go ahead and deny this motion, and you'll proceed on. So I think it's safe to cancel this now. And
there it is.
I'm sorry, is it possible to take public comment on this issue?
Absolutely.
How about, just thinking about these kids running out into traffic?
Would you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Walter Jacks, 4832 Kells Drive. I think there's a fairly easy logistical solution to kids running out into traffic, like you mentioned, Mayor. Every time you go to McDonald's and you do a self-order at the kiosk, you take a number and you press it in, they say, Mayor Easton's number 1. You go to your table and know where number 1 is. If you have a long line of cars parked on the curb waiting to pick up their kids, if you have an official from the school wearing a two-way radio like Chief Purcell has back there, then the person who's out there in this line of cars can say, who are you and who are your kids? Issue them a token, radio back to the school, line these kids up. Second car, who are you, who are your kids? Give them a token and line those kids up. So then the kids are all perfectly lined up with the incoming cars, and you don't send the kid out until their car is at the front of the line. And it'll work just like a McDonald's. It'll just hasten the process and keep kids out of traffic.
They do the same procedure in Yukon. That's how they do it out there.
Okay,
I have grandkids out there, so.
okay. I think that would work here too.
Yeah, that'd be great. We still have the problem of so many cars and so many buses driving on neighborhood streets.
Sure, just designate them to be funneled down one entry. And then you problem basically solved about ordering up kids and having them run out in traffic.
so it's always easy to think that maybe the kids going to the middle schools from Frolic Meadows to I-40, but now we've got them from 82nd down past Reno. So, I mean, you got 6 miles of kids, and all that whole neighborhood, they all goes to our Dell City Middle School. So that's the part is this. We've got buses traveling from long ways, having to go down Linda Boulevard along with everybody else.
Yeah, so there's the bus issue, and then there's the kids' parents picking them up in
Right,
cars issue,
right.
just trying to solve the
Yep,
parents in
yep.
cars part of
And
the
we
equation.
and we appreciate you. That's
Sure,
a good
thank
idea.
you.
Thank you, Walter. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
And mayor votes no. Motion passes. Item number 9, lease agreement motocross. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or approve with modifications or deny entering into an updated 12-month lease agreement with Motocross JT Power Sports LLC for their property located at 4601 East Reno Avenue, Del City, Oklahoma, 73115, for the amount of $1,000 per month. Authorize mayor to endorse same. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve as written, authorize mayor to endorse same.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This is JD. Is JD here tonight? He's out? Okay. Is there anybody that wants to speak on this? Step up to the podium. Spell your name for the clerk, please.
My name's Jeremy Thomas, Jeremythomas. And obviously, we have the land at 4601 East Reno. I spent the last 2 weeks going back and forth with Ms. Palmer, trying to get her the things she's requested of me. Make sure you got the email at about 2:30 today from the insurance person on, we've got everything in line there, ready to go forward if the city wants us. That's kind of where I'm at on this. I had to take some time, say, hey, is this what we want to do? I lost more money last year than I've ever lost in a year. Had very little to do with Del City. We had $35,000 worth of our equipment stolen in February. We do an indoor event in February every year. We had our race trailer along with everything we use to put on a race stolen at the event. To this day, we've got $1,700 in insurance money on it. But so, we have to decide we keep forward. I believe in what we're doing here. I think what we're doing is good for the city. I hate to say anything with JD not here. There's really only one thing I disagreed with JD on. And when we was asked about 6,000 people and what that brings to the city or financially how that helps the city, and JD thought it was very little. And I had a conversation this weekend I didn't even intend to have. I had a guy tell me, he goes, well, my brother and their family are going to quit racing. And I said, why is that? And he goes, well, they made the mistake of calculating how much money they were spending on racing. And I said, well, yeah, but what do you mean? And he goes, well, they calculated they're spending $700 to $800 a weekend to go racing. But these families are only spending $100 of that on average at the racetrack. And the rest of it's spent around, whether it's a hotel or the restaurant or the motorcycle shops or the gas stations. The people are spending money here, and I just think it's a matter how you look at it. And I think it's a matter how you look at it, whether if you decide you want us or not. I realize what we are. We're a motocross track. There's going to be varying opinions on if we should even be here or not. And to be honest, if you want to get rid of us, you're always going to be able to find a reason. There's something we could have done. I know we've been in this weird kind of state of limbo since November. If that's on my end, I apologize. The lease changes Ms. Palmer has put in there hopefully clarifies that up on both ends for both us and her. There's things in there that I look at and go, well, if this was in here, this would have prevented a lot of what we, I'll just say, discussed last meeting. So if you vote to have us, we're excited to get back to working. I stopped back by there 2 weeks ago on the way here. Everything looked great. I stopped by today. Somebody pushed the gate in and the porta potties are knocked over. I've told everybody to stay off the property. It works for me until this gets renewed. But we'd like to get in there and get that fixed and get back to work. If anybody would like to see it, I bought copies of our proposed schedule for the next year. If not, I can just leave them on the table over there and y'all can look at those later. We've noticed we've been extremely heavy on our new rider clinics have gone way better than we thought they would. The first one we did, we had 48 riders show up to, and we were expecting a handful. And we are fresh off of our indoor event that we do once a year that's kind of centered around the kids, and it's the biggest race of its type in the whole country. And we want to lean into that success and kind of combine it with the success we've had with the new riders. And that's what we want to do all summer, and that's in the lease, and we've discussed that the last one as well. So that's all I have.
Is your new rider course, is that for racing or is that for safety riding?
So
whenever you buy a new new
Sure,
four-wheeler?
it combines both. Of course, my best friend owns a Honda dealership here, so I'm tied in extremely well. And they don't sell a motorcycle without them knowing about us. But I try to be, I encourage racing because that's what I grew up doing. But I think a lot of people are intimidated. They get a motorcycle, they've ridden it around their pasture or their backyard, but they just don't know where to start with the racing. So we go over from basic maintenance to clean their air filter, to lubing their chain, to the proper protective gear. There's a right and wrong way to crash, and you only have a little say-so in it, but that little say-so could change your life. So we go through all that, and it's been a bigger success than we thought it would be. And like I said, we want to lean into that this year. So
All right.
So that's definitely an important course for
It's-
anybody in our citizens have. The other question is looking at a map of your racing facility. So do you have the starting line going down the long straightaway to where the mufflers and everything else is pointing to the sewer plant?
I could point it out with my finger, but the start is on the very west side of the property.
Are you up here?
So we ended up putting it over here with the bikes would be facing towards the east with the mufflers facing to the west at Public Works.
Okay.
So I figured this was, the way this dog legs
Yeah.
actually put it further away.
Okay.
And I've said it, even when we initially applied, there's gonna be times when the wind's just right and, but I think it's minimal. I would never sit here and say they're motorcycles, you're not gonna hear them at all. But we've just tried to be the best neighbors that we can, whether people think we've tried or not. I'm on eggshells over there at all times, and we have people show up and their muffler's too loud, and I have to turn them away, and it's not fun, but it's part of being here, and we know we have to do that. So.
And the last question is you're going down the pond side, according to this one. Has anybody hit the fence or crashed? Crashed
No,
over there? I mean,
and
is that a danger?
The
Because-
fence got put a little closer than I would like, but it's still probably far enough. The fence crew never really talked to us. We just showed up and it was up one day, and the track was already built. But we've gone, there's only one corner where it kind of got close, and we've just kind of pushed it in a little bit. And, but no, that's not been an issue at all.
All right. Thank you.
No.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Let's take the vote. Councilman Finch?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Mooney?
Aye.
Councilman Gandy?
No.
Mayor votes aye, the motion carries. Item number 10, surplus items, discussion, consideration, possible action to declare, deny the items listed in Exhibit B to the council agenda as surplus to the city's needs. Authorize the city manager to dispose of surplus items. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to declare items listed in Exhibit B to the council agenda as surplus to the city's needs and authorize city manager to dispose of surplus items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Mooney?
Aye.
Councilman Gandy?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye, the motion carries. Item number 11 is assess abatement costs to property owners. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve and ratify or deny and remove assessment costs in the total amount of $5,358.62 to property owners for cleanup of property previously abated in accordance with Dale City Code Sections 13-106 through 13-114. The property number 1 is 4404 Southeast 20th Street. The owner is Kelly Jo Davis of Oklahoma City. The total expenses are $1,569.54. Property number 2 is 3120 Delview Drive. The owner is Mary Jo Newsom of Dale City, Oklahoma. The total expense is $1,219.54. Property number 3 is, location is 3321 Southeast 19th Street. The owner is Winters Pauline of Dell City, Oklahoma. The total expense is $2,569.54. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve and ratify assessment cost in the total amount of $5,385.62 to property owners for cleanup of property previously abated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. I would entertain a motion to recess to,
Make a motion to recess to DCMSA.
that's it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney. Mayor votes aye. We are now recessed to Dell City Municipal Services Authority. Melissa, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Gandy, Trustee Mooney, Trustee Finch, Trustee Dean, and Chairman Eason.
Chairman is here. Is there any public input? Is there anybody in the public that would like to address the trust on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Trustees? Non-agenda items. Seeing none. Move on to the manager's report. Item number 5 is a consent docket. And I understand we have a problem with the minutes on this consent docket. Councilman Dean, you want to explain the
So
DC?
item A says that there's a special meeting, and the minutes for that special meeting is with the Dell City Economic Development Authority.
Mhm.
And so, item A should not be on this agenda, as that's the municipal services.
Since we're not doing all in a unanimous decision, we have to do each one separately. Is that correct, City Attorney? Okay. Just wanted to get that out there. We're going to do discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the following items, and we'll do them individually. Item A is not municipal services, it's economic development. So we will bypass that one
Or deny it.
or deny it. That really needs to be held over to DC EDA.
Yes. No, so item
Item A.
Item A is a special, it was for the Dell City Economic Development Authority. It's their minutes. So we
Yeah.
don't have the authority
We
to vote on
don't, we
that.
don't have an EDA meeting today. Do we need a motion to remove this item and put it on the appropriate docket?
Make a motion that we remove item A and put it on the next Economic Development Authority meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item B, minutes of February 6, 2023, regular meeting. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of DCMSA of February 6, 2023. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item B as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Finch.
Aye.
Councilman Gandy.
Aye.
Councilman Mooney.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. The motion carries. Item C is a blanket purchase order for fleet maintenance. Approve a blanket purchase order for Fleet Maintenance Division for fiscal year 2022-2023 under account number 20-530-218. Item 010050, Fleet Pride for $500. 01005, Holidale Company, $500. 010634, Napa Auto, $500. 010907, Rush Truck Center for $500. 010288 United Engine, $500 for a total of $2,500. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve item C as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Gandy?
Aye.
Trustee Finch?
Aye.
Trustee Dean?
Aye.
Trustee Mooney?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Item number 6 is filter backwash pump. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve or deny purchasing a filter backwash pump for the wastewater treatment facility from Grundfos CBS Incorporated through Haynes Equipment Company for the amount of $21,828. The backwash pump is part of the filtration system designed and built from proprietary components that are critical to meet the permit standards by DEQ and EPA at the Del City Wastewater Treatment Facility. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion that we approve purchasing a filter backwash pump in the amount of $21,828. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes. So and the only part about this is this kind of pump or this kind of system can lead to a notice of violation from the Department of DEQ, of which then we'd get to pay an additional fine for it. So it's important for for our municipal services, to make sure that if there is something that fails, that we get an emergency meeting, whatever else that's needed to get something done. Not that we're in violation, but thank you.
Nobody likes backwash. So.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Gandy?
Aye.
Trustee Dean?
Aye.
Trustee Finch?
Aye.
Trustee Mooney?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries. Any further trust input?
Make a motion, we adjourn to the Del City Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Trustee Gandy?
Aye.
Trustee Dean?
Aye.
Trustee Finch?
Aye.
Trustee Mooney?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are now adjourned back to the Del City Council. We are now on item number 12, executive session. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve recessing for executive session pursuant to Oklahoma Open Meeting Act 20 OS 301 for the purpose of the following. I'm going to read this as it's written on the agenda, but on the advice of counsel, I will modify my motion. Pay attention to the motion because it won't be exactly like the agenda item. Discussion concerning the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of any individual salaried public employee, including but not limited to the process of designating an acting city manager or appointing a city manager pursuant to 25 OS 307B1. Now, I would like to make the motion that we adjourn to executive session, discussion concerning the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of any individual salaried public employee, including the designating of an acting city manager or appointing a city manager pursuant to 25 OS 307B1. That is my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Take the vote. Councilman Gandy?
Aye.
Councilman Mooney?
Aye.
Councilman Finch?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor votes